Hey, what's up guys? Balliet Brand here, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how I make my kombucha and how you can make it too. And what you're going to do, what I'm not going to show is obviously it takes some time to ferment the finished product for the sugar and the caffeine to get eaten by the culture. But here's what the final product looks like. It looks like beer. And, I figured I'd put this in before I actually show you guys how to make it. And just kind of let you know what kombucha does. It's full of like probiotics and I'm pretty sure like live bacteria. And that's really good for your gut health and things like that. And so it's really good after a meal. Because the acidity helps just like digest and helps break things down. I don't have an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to kombucha, but I know that it's good for you, and I've been participating in it for about a little over a year now, probably 2 years, I'd say. So without further ado, I'm gonna show you guys how to make it as promised. I hope y'all enjoy. Okay, so the first step that you're going to need to do is boil 2 gallons of water. And this recipe, like I said, what I just alluded to, is going to be for a 2-gallon kombucha brew. So you can always do it, you can always cut the recipe in half or whatever you want to do. But I always do 2 gallons because that's what, that's what works for me. And that's the type of jars that I have. So I'm gonna let this boil and then I'm gonna add black tea to it. But first step is get this boiling. Okay guys, Balliet Brand here again. And so the water's still boiling, but obviously once it's boiling, I'm gonna add the tea bags to it. And I just wanna say that when you're making kombucha, what happens is the process, it's fermenting, right? The final drink that you consume is a fermented drink. And what kombucha, the culture, the mother, I'll show you that. What that thing thrives off of is sugar and caffeine. And so it literally, the culture eats that and then produces carbonation and, the kombucha product. So all that to say, you're gonna use black tea. I got this just at the store, just some freaking generic brand. Really doesn't matter what kind of tea bags you use or just tea in general, as long as it's black. Because black tea has the highest amount of caffeine. And like I said, this culture feeds off of caffeine and sugar. So I'm gonna add, for this 2-gallon batch, I'm gonna add probably 15 tea bags. And I do want to say one thing real quick, guys. Anytime you are consuming kombucha or you're brewing kombucha, always use glass as the container, because the final product is so strong that it'll eat through plastics, like BPA and shit like that. So I had this buddy, he might be watching this video, and he was telling me about his brew. It didn't really go how he had planned. He didn't finalize his brew, but he was brewing it in a plastic jug like this, and you don't want to do that. So I used glass, got this at the store. It's a 2-gallon Anchor Hawking jar, and that's just what I use. But any glass will be fine. So this is the container I'm gonna do the brew in, put the tea in, all of that. And, you just want to make sure it's really, really clean. And if you use soap, then really rinse it out, because how kombucha thrives and ferments is that environment, like the SCOBY and the mother is like bacteria, I believe. So if you're using soap that's antibacterial, you can slow down the process and damage it. So it's recommended from the research that I've done to wash your jars out with, there's a whistle, Well, wash your jars out with vinegar and really hot water, and that'll disinfect the glass. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna add these 15 tea bags to the 2 gallons of boiling water over there once it finishes boiling, and we'll go from there. Alright, so the water is practically boiling. What I'm gonna do before I add the tea, guys, is add the sugar. Now, for each gallon of brew that you want to do, you have to have a cup of sugar. So I got 2 cups of sugar here since we're doing a 2-gallon batch. So just dissolve the sugar in the hot water. And like I said, I like to do this before the tea bags. Let the tea bags be the final process. So dissolve the sugar, and then we're going to add the tea bags. So the sugar's dissolved. What I'm going to do now is just add the tea. And, follow the directions on the package, as far as the steeping goes. I always like to, let's see here. I always like to maybe spend 10 minutes to actually brew the tea itself and, do the steeping. But, just follow the directions. Like I said, kombucha works off of, sugar and caffeine, which is what we're making in this, in this pot right now. So yeah, just brew your tea. Once we're done, I'll show you the next step. All right, so this is the tea and sugar mixture. What we're gonna do now, guys, is you can obviously see the steam coming off from there. We're gonna let this cool. And the reason we want to let this cool is because when we add the SCOBY and the mother, the temperature of this right now would kill the bacteria, which would then, maybe put the brewing process to a halt, the fermentation process to a halt. So let this cool down. Then we're gonna finally add the mother and some starter liquid. And all we have to do is just wait 2 weeks and we'll have our kombucha. Okay guys, before I wrap up this video, I want to add something real quick to the middle of it. As far as the quality of water, I really never mentioned this. I personally used distilled water. I've been brewing, like I said, for almost 2 years now. And what I find is when you use distilled water, you're going to have the highest amount of carbonation and just a higher quality product. I've used tap water before, and I've even used a 2-stage filter that I have here at this house, and it's just not the same. So if you want a product that is similar to the stores as far as carbonation and taste and just all of that good stuff that you love, use distilled water. I mean, you can literally, this is what I did, go to the store and buy those plastic jugs for $1 a gallon. So in all, the total cost of that 2-gallon brew, not counting the time, is going to be $3. The sugar, the tea, and the 2 gallons of water, $3. Call $3.25 for 2 gallons of kombucha. So the quality of water really matters. Also, like I said before, never use plastic. Trust me, you don't want to do something that you think is helpful and actually hurt yourself by leaching plastics in. So always use glass and use a high quality water. Okay guys? Thanks for watching. Quick side note, guys. It does not hurt when you are letting the tea cool. It does not hurt to add a cloth and a rubber band over it because it seems like fruit flies just come out of nowhere. And fruit flies are obviously attracted to fructose, sugar. So that's what I've learned is when brewing kombucha or cooling the tea that we're going to make for the brew, always have, some sort of protective cloth because the last thing you want is a swarm of frickin' fruit flies to destroy your hard work. So that's a little tip from me to you. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys, so the tea has cooled down for the most part. Now what I'm going to do is add the culture and some starter liquid. that is going to kickstart this to ferment. If you don't have starter liquid or have a culture, you can find cultures actually on Amazon. And if that's still not something that you choose to do, or you don't know anyone that has cultures, you can actually use apple cider vinegar that's raw and unfiltered, and just pour that in. And it might take a little bit longer because it needs to form the culture, but you can do that as well. So I have about 28 ounces here of some starter brew. We're going to add that. And then also, behind this one that we're going to start, I have one that I had just finished. And so I mentioned, the culture. And that's exactly what this thing is. It's also called a SCOBY. It's basically what creates the reaction between the sugar and the caffeine. So when I drop this in like so, it's going to, within the next 14 days of fermenting, it's going to literally, eat the caffeine, eat the sugar, and the byproduct will be the kombucha that we all know and love. So that's it, guys. Please let me know what you think of this video. I hope it's informative. At the end of the day, I just want to share my secrets with you, what I'm doing, and what I find that's beneficial for me. So if you like this, feel free to actually, give it a thumbs up, and feel free to comment if you have something that you wanted to say or have any questions. Until then, guys, I'll see you next time.